And continuing reading out aloud information related to Playhouse 90. So between 1954 and 1960, John Frankenheimer directed 152 live television dramas, an average of one every 2 weeks. During the 1950s, he was regarded as television's top directorial talent, and much of his significant work was for Playhouse 90, for which he directed 27 teleplays between 1956 and 1960. He began The Forbidden Area, October 4, 1956, adapted by Serling from the Pat Frank novel about Soviet sabotage, following with Rendezvous in Black, October 25, 1956, adapted from Cornell Woolrich's novel of Twisted Revenge. Eloise, November 22, 1956, adapted from the book by Kay Thomas and Hilary Knight, and The Family Nobody Wanted, December 20, 1956, from the Helen Doss book about a childless couple who adopt a dozen children of mixed ancestry, a book brought to television again in 1975. As Playhouse 90 moved into 1957, Frankenheimer directed a science fiction drama, The Ninth Day, January 10, 1957, by Howard and Dorothy Baker, about a small group of World War III survivors, and a Serling adaptation, The Comedian, February 14, 1957, based on the short story by Ernest Lehman, and starring Mickey Rooney as an abrasive, manipulative television comedian. In later interviews, Frankenheimer expressed his admiration for Rooney's acting in this memorable drama. A kinescope of the comedian survives and remains available for viewing at the Paley Center for Media in New York City and Los Angeles. After The Last Tycoon, March 14, 1957, adapted from the F. Scott Fitzgerald novel about a film studio head, Frankenheimer followed with Tad Mosel's If You Knew Elizabeth, April 11, 1957, about an ambitious college professor, another Fitzgerald adaptation, Winter Dreams, May 23, 1957, dramatizing a romantic triangle, Clash by Night, June 13, 1957, with Kim Stanley, an adaptation of the Clifford Odets play, and The Fabulous Irishman, June 27, 1957, a biographical drama tracing events in the life of Robert Briscoe. Frankenheimer used a fake bull's head jutting into the frame when he staged The Death of Manolete, September 12, 1957, Barnaby Conrad's drama about the death of the legendary bullfighter, a production later ranked by Frankenheimer as one of his worst. Here it is sped up here. Robert Allen Orfer's script for A Sound of Different Drummers, October 3, 1957, borrowed so heavily from Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 that Bradbury sued. The Troublemakers, November 21, 1957, was George Bellac's adaptation of his own 1956 play about a campus newspaper editor killed by other students. Frankenheimer ended the year with The Thundering Wave, December 12, 1957, starring James and Pamela Mason in an Orfer drama about an acting couple who agree to do a play together despite their separation. Frankenheimer kicked off 1958 with The Last Man, January 9, 1958, an Aaron Spelling revenge drama, followed by The Violent Heart, February 6, 1958, from the Daphne du Maurier story of Romance on the French Riviera, Rumors of Evening, May 1, 1958, about a World War II pilot obsessed with a USO entertainer, and Serling's Bomber's Moon, May 22, 1958, about a World War II pilot accused of cowardice. A Town Has Turned to Dust, June 19, 1958, a Serling drama about an 1870 lynching of an innocent Mexican in a southwestern town, was based on the Emmett Till case. In the New York Times for October 3, 1958, the day after J.P. Miller's Days of Wine and Roses was telecast, Jack Gould wrote a rave review with much praise for the writer, director, and cast. It was a brilliant and compelling work. Mr. Miller's dialogue was especially fine, natural, vivid, and understated. Miss Laurie's performance was enough to make the flesh crawl, yet it also always elicited deep sympathy. Her interpretation of the young wife just a shade this side of delirium tremens. The flighty dancing around the room, her weakness of character in moments of anxiety, and her charm when she was sober, was a superlative accomplishment. Miss Laurie is moving into the forefront of our most gifted young actresses. Mr. Robertson achieved first-rate contrast between the sober man fighting to hold on and the hopeless drunk whose only courage came from the bottle. His scene in the greenhouse, where he tried to find the bottle that he had hidden in the flower pot, was particularly good. John Frankenheimer's direction was magnificent. His every touch implemented the emotional suspense, but he never let the proceedings get out of hand or merely become sensational. Old Man, November 20th, 1958, was adapted by Horton Foote from William Faulkner's story set during the 1927 Mississippi River flood. Face of a Hero, January 1st, 1959, based on the Pierre Boulle novel, starred Jack Lemmon, who took this play to Broadway for a run of 36 performances during October to November 1960. The following year, Frankenheimer began with The Blue Men, January 15th, 1959, and Alvin Barrett's drama about the trial of a police detective who refused to make an arrest. A.E. Ochsner adapted Ernest Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls into a two-part format, March 12th and March 19th, 1959. Journey to the Day, April 22nd, 1960, was a Roger Herson drama about group therapy. Playhouse 90 began as a live series, making a transition to tape in 1957. Kevin Dowler, writing for the Museum of Broadcast Communications, noted, "Its status as a live drama was short-lived in any case, since the difficulties in mounting a 90-minute production on a weekly basis required the adoption of the recently developed videotape technology, which is used to record entire shows beforehand from 1957 onward. Both the pressures and the costs of this ambitious production eventually resulted in Playhouse 90 being cut back to alternate weeks, sharing its time slot with The Big Party between 1959 and 1960. The final 8 shows were aired irregularly between February and May 1960, with repeats broadcast during the summer weeks of 1961. The success of Playhouse 90 continued into the 1957-58 season, with productions of The Miracle Worker, The Comedian, and The Helen Morgan Story. Although these shows, along with Requiem and Judgment at Nuremberg, were enough to ensure the historical importance of Playhouse 90, the program also stood out because of its emergence in the film era of television broadcasting evolution. By 1956, much of television production had moved from the east to the west coast and from live performances to filmed series. Most of the drama anthologies, a staple of the evening schedule to this point, fell victim to the newer types of programs being developed. Playhouse 90 stands in contrast to the prevailing trend, and its reputation benefited from both the growing nostalgia for the waning live period and a universal distaste for Hollywood on the part of New York television critics. It also is probable that since the use of videotape, not widespread at the time, preserved a live feel, so that discussion of the programs could be easily adapted to the standards introduced by the New York television critics. Normally the program was telecast in black and white, but on Christmas night 1958, it offered a color production of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, starring the New York City Ballet and choreographed by George Balanchine. The program, hosted by June Lockhart, was presented live rather than on videotape, however, and it was long thought to have survived only on a black and white kinescope version. In 2021, the color videotape version was uploaded to YouTube. Oh, that's fascinating and brilliant. And we'll close it here. Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it very immensely.